Kimi K2 is taking the world by storm, ladies and gentlemen. This is the latest model out of China, and today we're going to go ahead and go through the live setup, getting this set up inside of Claude Code. I use Claude Code primarily for my AI coding agents, and I'm also using Claude Code inside of Cursor. And so today we're just going to go ahead and generate some API keys through the Moonshot platform, also through OpenRouter, and kind of go over some of those details of how I get it set up through RepoPrompt. So just as a quick overview, very quick, this is just kind of covering what we're going to go ahead and do today. It's just going to be like a quick stream of getting set up. If you're kind of curious on getting this type of thing, there's not going to be much evaluations and stuff. I'll be covering some of those a little bit later in some private videos that I'll be going on. I'm going to just do some recordings. I'm going to be posting those. So if you're a member, you'll be able to see those first. Also, if you're a member in the Discord, you'll have a link to this exact eraser thing that I'm actually going through right now. So just a quick high-level overview of what's been released and what is Kimi K2 before we get to these keys and kind of you get to a little bit of understand what you're getting into. Kimi K2 is basically the large language model that was produced. And so they've produced these things called these weights. And these are the weights that are currently published online, and they're currently available through Hugging Face. You can download them and run them on your own machine if you're currently capable of doing so. The only downside is it requires an extremely large amount of RAM. You may require the best of the best, like a $10,000 config from Apple. You need 2 of those to run them in order to kind of run them at a decent speed. So there are a couple places who host the weights, and one of them is from Moonshot directly. So Moonshot, the actual makers of this, are currently hosting this via the API, and that's actually currently going through China. So if you're generating any API keys from the Moonshot platform, you're going to be basically sending data directly to them. I want to give this as a disclaimer because people may not know exactly what this means, or if that's important for your private coding, you may want to kind of be aware of what's going on here. So these weights are currently installed at the data centers there. And so we're going to generate an API key and kind of test it out. And that's one of the things that we'll be doing. And then the other weights that are currently provided is through OpenRouter. I don't know exactly the details as far as what region where they're getting their weights and all the stuff and how that's being hosted. So I just wanted to give you a heads up on that and kind of what that looks like. And we're going to be using the app Claude Code. So that's where I'm going to go ahead and get the API key from here in China, or from this platform, from Moonshot API, and also from OpenRouter. And we're going to go ahead and configure them in Claude Code. So when I'm hitting Claude Code, there should be this little arrow key somewhere. Okay, yeah, we're basically going to be doing something like this where we hit their platform, and that's how we're going to go ahead and talk to it. And then the same thing goes with RepoPrompt as well. So RepoPrompt, I'm actually, instead of hooking up directly to Moonshot, I'm actually going to be hooking RepoPrompt directly to OpenRouter, and we're going to be talking to the same model, but it's going to be distributed from these types of things. So I wanted to have something visual here so that you can kind of understand. There's a lot of moving pieces. There's a lot of keywords and buzzwords, but I feel like if you're kind of able to kind of understand this, if you're in the Discord and if you're currently a member on YouTube, you actually will have access to this link and you can kind of go over this with me, ask me some questions in the Discord. And in order to join that really quick before we're going to get into anything, youtube.com/@RayFernando1337. You have to do this through the web browser. And then you hit join there. So once you join, I'm currently aiming to get my first 100 members. And then from there, the price will double to get into the Discord. So without further ado, in order to go to get your API keys, you can just go ahead and click this link. It's just platform.moonshot.ai/console/API keys. And so this is going to take us here. And for Moonshot, they require you to have some like actual credit card on file, and they just require $10. The good thing about this is the fact that it's only going to cost us probably, there's like literally an 80% discount compared to Claude Sonnet 4 and Opus when you're using the models. You're not really going to need like hundreds of dollars in here. You probably just need $10 to get started with. And so what you can do here is, I think in one of the API specs, just for FYI, they have a tier list, and you can review this at your own leisure. But basically, just putting $10 in will get us about 200 requests per minute, which is really, really high. And the tokens per minute would be 128,000 tokens. And then you get 10 million tokens per day. So that's just enough to do some basic coding. If you're really going crazy, you can obviously put some more money in, and that'll bump you to the tiers. But $10 is good enough for me. And that's what I was able to put into that platform there. to kind of get started. And so in order for us to create the API key, all we have to do is just hit this little, go to the API key section here up above, and then hit create API key. So you can just enter a key name. We can just say Claude Code Moonshot, and you can select the project. I don't have any project set up, so I'm just going to do default. And then once I hit OK, what ends up happening is that it's going to go ahead and generate like an actual key for us. So this key here that I currently have blurred out because I don't want to expose the key by accident. I may accidentally expose it during this stream, but I will definitely disable it. This is the key that we want to have available so that we can actually use this in Claude Code and these other areas. So I'm going to show you how we do that next, but I'm going to make sure I can stash this key somewhere so I can reference it and copy and paste it later on. See, it's a little tricky doing this during a live stream, but I'm trying to figure this out on the fly. So that way it's not too tricky as far as like, you know, trying to, I don't know. Like this is like actually what's kind of fun about live streaming is like literally I'm trying to figure this out as I go. And you're here struggling along with me and we'll figure this out, if you know what I mean. So yeah, so I think I have my key saved. And according to what I see on the screen, I should be able to basically unblur it. And so you'll see something like this that's currently created. It'll say Claude Code Moonshot created at whatever. So this means that we have the key. In that earlier dialog, you were able to copy the key, and that's the key we're going to go ahead and need. So I ran into this really cool script online, and I was trying to figure out how do we actually get this set up in Claude Code. So it turns out all we need to do is put these keys into an environment variable, and then we should open Claude Code and it should get up and running for us. And so that is really, really cool. So that means we should just be able to open Claude Code and we put our little API key in, and then we have this little thing, and then we're pretty much, you know, start our Claude Code type of thing. So that's pretty cool. And I think I was like, oh, that's really interesting. And it should basically look something like this. Export this exact thing, and then export this exact, you know, with this API key. The only downside to this whole thing is the fact that you actually have to keep pasting in that key every time you want to use Claude Code. So you can kind of see the downfall here. It's like, okay, now you like this a lot. Now you have to keep pasting it in over and over. There is a way to script this so that we don't have to keep doing that over and over. And then we can make an alias in our shells so that we can just type in Kimi instead of typing in Claude Code. So that will basically preload everything for us so we don't have to do everything all the time. And the second thing is that we were not going to mess up our Claude Code instance. Whenever you want to use Claude Code, you just type in Claude and you're back in your Claude Code thing and you're back to where you were. So that way you actually have two different environments to run in without actually messing up configurations or proxying requests and doing all this silly hand dancing stuff that I was trying to figure out earlier. And I want to save you that headache. And let's just go ahead and see if we can kind of cook with this and see how far we get. So one of the ways that we need to do this is by setting up this script. And so we will set up this script in our bash RC or ZSHRC. So if you're running in a Mac, you're probably running in the ZSH environment, and you may have this file or may not. So what you can do is just open terminal. And in the terminal, what you can do is like type in .z, you can do like cat.zshrc. Let me make this a little bit bigger so y'all can see this. And then you'll actually see what's currently in this file. So it's a whole bunch of stuff. And so that means that you actually do have that file there, which is really awesome. And then if you have cursor loaded up, you can just type in cursor and then type in .zshrc. And so when you do that, it's going to open up the actual file in cursor and you'll see this directory path that's in here. So that means you can actually edit this file and save it and everything like that. So this is currently just opening it up in my current project that I have loaded up right now. And what I can go ahead and do is just go ahead and take a look at this file up above and see if I can actually kind of copy these commands and paste them in. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is just type in this probably exactly here. Another thing that I've learned recently is in the OS X operating system, if I can get this pulled up here, is the fact that, where is it? I have this file. We should be able technically to be able to select the files just like this. If you have an image and you save it and you open it up, what ends up happening is that you basically just, you should be able to highlight the text like this and then just paste it into cursor like so. So let's go ahead and see this. So we still have our ZSHRC file that's right up here. And then I'm just going to go and paste it. and you can kind of see the formatting's a little bit off, but I'm just going to go ahead and see if I can, Cursor is already wanting us to like Alt Tab and fix this type of thing. So let's just go ahead and verify. We have Kimi API key, looks like it's valid. API base URL, this is great. And Anthropic API key. So this is awesome. I think we have our stuff set up here for this running this thing. And so what this shell script will do is anytime we type in Kimi, it's going to basically run this script and it's going to run Claude. And the advantage of having something like this is, I don't know if you know, but in Claude Code, you can pass in additional commands like -- resume or -- continue. And so if you wanted to do that using the older method, you know, obviously you'd have to do so much typing in and so much, all this other crazy stuff. This shell script will allow us to just pass those in as variables as easy as possible. So that should be really, really cool. Okay, so then now this is the thing. So now we have to actually, remember that API key we copied earlier in the actual Moonshot platform? We'll have to put in this API key here. And so what I'm going to go ahead and try to do is try to see if I could blur the screen. And if the blur works, it's working, cool. And then I'll paste my API key in, and then in here in this little area. So that way it's going to be referenced later on. And I'm going to go ahead and hit save. And theoretically, I should already have this saved. And then once I hit save, I'm just going to go ahead and like close this ZSHRC window. So that way it's no longer visible. And then I'm going to just go ahead and see if I can unblur myself. And that way we have something here. So now if we open up the terminal, or actually instead of opening up the terminal, I'm just going to go ahead and open up a new terminal window here inside of Cursor. And so what Cursor does is basically opens up a new shell. So if I type in Kimi, I should be able now to basically hit my API using Kimi. So at the very top, it'll say overrides the VIA environment. And now we have the Moonshot Anthropic setup. So inside of Cursor, we now actually have Claude Code set up using the base URL, which is the Moonshot stuff, and my API key. So one of the advantages of doing it this way, and why I like to do it this way, is the fact that I'm going to now have Cursor inside of, see, any files I select here are going to be now using Claude Code, but we're going to be running it through the actual, Kimi K2 model. And Kimi K2 is supposed to be really, really good at, AI coding and so forth. So that's awesome. That was actually really fast and much pain. That was actually faster than I was thinking as far as our setup here. And we're able to get this set up. So just a real quick summary for those who are just tuning in, I just want to show you really quick kind of what we did here. So we're able to get the API key from the Moonshot platform. Make sure you put in like $10 or something in there. And then from there, we're able to pop into Claude Code. And before we popped into Claude Code, I showed you how to kind of do that with the shell by putting into Cursor and then copying and pasting those little sets of instructions there so that you can have the basically the script that runs inside of Claude Code inside of Claude Code. So now when I type in Kimi, we launch Claude Code with our Kimi API credentials and everything, and I don't have to keep worrying about copying and pasting and keeping that key around somewhere. It's already just in my ZSHRC file, which is really awesome. And now we're basically just inside Cursor, and we should be able to kind of tell it to do something. So it's interesting here as far as like what I have there. Let me just go ahead and pop this up a little bit, and let me just kind of review my code base. I'm going to see if I could set myself to the side, so that way I'm not kind of in the screen and so forth. And so I think what I wanted to do was, earlier, I was trying to architect something in my app. And I think what I want to go ahead and do is just want to make sure maybe this is working. So let's see. I want you to search through my files and see if you can tell me how the trial setup works with my app. And so now I'm basically sending this across using the Moonshot API, and I'm leveraging Claude Code to, like Claude Code, the actual agentic workflow. And theoretically, it should work. I mean, it's like currently cooking right now. So here we are at the bottom. And the way that we know it's working is that base URL set the API Moonshot. So this is technically not going through Claude Code at all. It's literally just going through the Moonshot API. And so the Kimi K2 model apparently is supposed to be really, really good at agentic coding. and it's supposed to be 80% cheaper than it is using Sonnet 4 and Opus 4 and so forth. So this, if it works, and it basically is working as we see it right now, can be a pretty awesome alternative. So you get to leverage the best of both worlds. You basically get to leverage Claude Code as a platform and its agentic tool calling, and then Kimi K2, which is really good at, you know, writing code and being pretty much this high as far as like, you know, where it's at. We're not going to do any benchmarking for this specific live stream, but this is just the first part of the setup that we're talking about. It's like, how do we connect this to Claude Code? How do we get this inside of Cursor like the way it is? So if you already have Claude Code set up inside Cursor, it'll just continue working as it is. But remember, when you hit the new terminal, instead of typing in Claude, we have to type in Kimi now. And then now we basically launch a new instance of this. You still have your current instance of Claude Code. So if we type in Claude, that will still work with Claude. So you can always use your Claude Code. And now you have basically two different things. You can have your flavor of Claude. For example, if Kimi is too slow, you can switch back to Claude Code and you don't mess up anything. You don't, you basically can run them both at the same time. To me, I think this is kind of like the biggest unlock / cheat code, because then you get that best of both worlds, especially if you're a little bit price conscious. You can see it takes quite a bit of time for it to do this. We've gone 120 seconds and only have gone through 168 tokens. So just keep that in mind if you're going to be coding with this and you're going to be using Claude Code or just using Kimi as far as API. There's so many people hammering at this right now that it's going to be a lot slower than usual to get your results back as far as like this agentic tool calling. So if you already have a Claude Code plan with the Pro model, if you're paying $100, $200 a month, I don't think you're going to be missing out too much here. As you see, like this request took a little long time. So it's like, yes, you want to proceed, just go ahead and find. So now it's just doing some of the tool calling here, and is what it is there. So yeah. I think that'll be really interesting as far as that there. So this is the script that I have set up. Let me go ahead and move my head. I'm going to go ahead and see if I can copy this out so that my members can have access to this. I'm going to go ahead and put this into the Discord. And so if you want to join the Discord, I will have, there's actually probably in the description, you can join to support my channel. And then that's how you're going to get into the private Discord that I have. It's just a private Discord. Basically, this is the way, what kind of funds me kind of to keep going and keeps members engaged like you as well. So this is that there. This is that going. So let's kind of check back in a little bit on what we have going on. So a lot of people have also wondering about how do you get this set up with OpenRouter. And so with our configuration diagram, remember the weights are like if you are on Hugging Face. So you can download them. It's an open weight model and you can host them on a specific provider. The license is the MIT modified license, and it's modified in the sense that if you are basically a mega corporation, you have to say that this model is Kimi K2, and that's to prevent people from basically just slapping, if you have like, let's just say I have this platform that generates code, right? And I'm like, hey, use Fernando's code generation platform. I came up with my own custom model. Like, if I don't generate, I don't know, tens of millions of dollars or something like that, technically I could say it's my own thing without saying it comes from Kimi K2 that's powering the backend, right? So this modified license is basically to prevent these mega corporations from claiming, these model weights as theirs. And so that's the only, I think, modification that's really in there. I'm not a lawyer. I haven't really dug through all the details, but that's just from what I've been able to quickly glance. And so OpenRouter is currently hosting this weights, and we're going to see if we can now hook up RepoPrompt to this, because I use RepoPrompt as well. And sometimes you don't want to just go through the Claude Code workflow. Maybe you just want to go through RepoPrompt. And so in OpenRouter, in order for you to get the weights, or in order for you to get the keys that you need to get, one of the things that you need to do here is basically just go into OpenRouter, and once you sign in and create an account, there's a keys section at the very top right, as you see right up here. So when you click keys, it's going to take you to this API keys section, and then you're just going to go ahead and hit create keys. And so you can just name it whatever you want. And I like to give it a limit just in case something happens. I just say $10 because you don't really, need all that stuff like that. And then once you get that key, you're going to have like this special key that's currently saved. And this is the key that we'll need to put into RepoPrompt. And so in RepoPrompt, the way I do it is basically I pop in the app here with RepoPrompt currently loaded. Basically, I just hit this little gear icon. And in the gear icon, you'll see these various settings on the side. So just go ahead and click OpenRouter where it says here, this section called API settings. And then you're going to paste in that OpenRouter API key in here. So once you put the key in, it's going to ask you to refresh the models. And so you refresh that model list and you'll see a whole bunch of models in here that you can't really scroll through. So here's where I just type in Kimi and you'll see Moonshot Kimi K2. So this is the model that we'll want to go ahead and add from OpenRouter, and you hit the little plus sign. Now we have this as a registered model so that we can talk to our code base with it. And so now that we have it here, I'm just going to go ahead and hit the X. We can actually go ahead and close settings. So in the compose window, this could be like some stuff that you want to go ahead and do here. I was doing something for prompt authoring. So if we go ahead and go to chat, when you start a new chat, you can actually select it now as a dropdown. So I have all my API keys set up here and OpenRouter is now listed at the bottom. And you actually now see Moonshot Kimi K2 at the very bottom there. So now that's actually how you can just have it selected. And then you could basically now just have a conversation. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is send up this mega prompt. I was basically doing this prompt authoring request because I was trying to get, I actually want to see how good this is at doing its thing. So we're going to send this request. I was generating a new mega prompt for myself because what I was doing is for my live streams, I get my entire transcript and I have it generate these chapters and I have it regenerate new titles and regenerate a description. So I'm basically using RepoPrompt to help me generate new prompts for basically my agentic coding workflow. And this is the type of stuff that's going to go into my app called Transcribes. So I made this app called Transcribes, and my goal is to basically help you get found like the big channels. So I discovered when I was live streaming and when I'm talking about certain topics, as soon as I put my transcripts in there, Google and everyone is hot off the press scraping these videos as fast as possible. Google and Bing and these guys can't actually read your videos until the transcripts are available, and the processing times can be very large depending on a bunch of other factors. So the cheat code is to actually get your stuff transcribed and then put it in there so it starts doing that. So what my app does is that basically get the transcriptions as fast as possible and put them up there. And then the secondary steps that I'm going to do is to then help you generate better titles, better descriptions, better everything. Everything that I'm doing as a content creator, I'm trying to just pass that along to you. So I do have a free trial if you want to try this out. This is raytranscribes.com. If you type in Ray VIP 20, I think there's a couple slots left. You'll basically get $20 off. So you can get started with the creator beta trial. And when I'm launching my beta features, that's going to be going in there. And then, we'll kind of start to do that there. But basically, yeah, this is part of my prompt authoring. I'll show you a little bit more of what this prompt looks like. Basically, I'm having it to put together a set of prompts. I gave it my current workflow that I'm doing by hand. I gave it these timestamps, how I'm like currently running it through my prompt authoring and processing and how I generate timestamps. And then I'm just telling it to see if it can actually generate, a better version and kind of walk through the workflows. So this actually hit the OpenRouter API, and it's now giving me back a response for like my new prompt authoring thing. I ran this through Claude Sonnet. So if I go to Claude.ai, and I'll show you what that looked like there, because this is a pretty big prompt. Browse connectors. Oh, that's cool. That's new. Let's see if I can find my chats. It should be my AI workflow. Okay. So I ran this through Opus because I wanted to see how good this was. So this is the same prompt that I basically ran through, right? This is like a pretty big mega prompt. And this is basically the prompt chain architecture that Claude Opus came back with. So it actually came up with a better transcript processing thing. So this is what it's going to do now to analyze the transcripts. When I would just feed in a transcript and it should basically output some metadata for me and clean the transcript. And then the second step I'm going to do in my app is then feed it through another prompt, which will generate a better YouTube title and description. And so these are the actual instructions in Markdown that Opus generated for me based off of that mega prompt that I gave it, which is super awesome. So it even tells me about keyword research and then breaks stuff down basically just like this for the YouTube descriptions. And then I have a third step that I'm doing as far as a transformation that's going to basically push it through the content optimization suite. So this is actually where I haven't told anyone yet, but you're actually getting a sneak peek of this because y'all are real ones for staying on the stream, by the way. I'm going to generate like social media clips. So this is like how I transform the data just from the transcripts going through all these different phases, and it's just not one big prompt, but it's a series of prompts. So once I take the data, then I transform it and I transform it again. And these are literally the instructions that I'm having the language model work through with me. And I use RepoPrompt because there's a prompt authoring thing here. So inside of RepoPrompt, there's a compose feature, and he actually has one called prompt authoring. So in the prompt section, you can go to this one and just hit the little plus sign, and that'll put it in here. And so I just basically tell it, here's a bunch of actual markdown instructions that I currently use. Here's my goal. Here's my outcome. Here's an example chat that I've had with Google Gemini. And that's kind of my goal, is to generate this new workflow. And so just by having it structured this way, RepoPrompt, passing into Opus, now I basically have now passed this into the other model, which is Kimi K2. Kimi K2 isn't as descriptive as the Opus model was for the specific prompt modeling, but it did come up with a couple of things that I think are interesting for comparison, because it did a similar 3 different chains of steps here. You see actually, it came up with the orchestration guide. I'm not gonna lie, this is pretty fire already from Kimi K2. What? Yo, it is. I'll have to look at it into more detail. But what Kimi K2 came up with, like, it almost came up. Okay, Kimi K2, are you Sonnet underneath the hood? Are we gonna pull off the ghost mask and we really find out it's Claude Sonnet 4 or Claude Opus 4? Right? This is crazy. So this is Opus. It gave me the whole thing, right? It even gave me like the actual complete chain with the graph stuff. But then Kimi K2 in the chat over here using the OpenRouter basically almost came up with the same guides. Okay. This is not that type of stream right now. I will have to definitely do a separate stream where we just go through this shocking, like this is like a non-coding task, by the way. This is like more of a prompt authoring task. And you see the power of RepoPrompt, number 1, but number 2, how you can just pop in these models like this, and this only consumed 10K tokens, right? So that probably cost me, I don't know, like something super cheap. If we go to OpenRouter, there should be like a cost, right? Credits. Let's see. I didn't really use that much credits. Yeah, it should $10 remaining. Like I probably haven't even touched like 1 cent. That is so wild. Yeah, so let's just talk about really quick on what the pricing looks like if you're curious on what this means. So Kimi K2, the input cost is actually 60 cents. So your first request is going to get sent over. Every per million tokens is going to cost you 60 cents for the input. And then the output is going to be $2.49. And then if we're talking about Claude 4 Sonnet, you see the price jump from there from 60 cents to basically $3. And then the output is going to be $15 per million tokens. And then Opus 4 is even more than that, right? So it just keeps going up. So what about GPT-4o? What about 4o mini? Okay, what about 4.1 mini? So the GPT-4.1 mini is here, and then here's the output as well. So as far as intelligence, I don't know about you. 4.1 is cool, but I primarily use Claude Sonnet. Claude Sonnet for me has always worked really, really good. You will have to try these things out, and that's kind of why I wanted to put this out here for you, so you guys can kind of take a look at the cost breakdown. And so what does this cost breakdown look like if we're just going to do some quick chats? So here's a documentation summary. This is me prompt authoring. See, my request didn't even cost anything. It's like 0.2 cents. So it's still $0, but it's 0.2. So I have to do 10 of those maybe to even come up with getting it over to 2 cents, right? So that's an amazing amount of time. So you can chat that much longer. You can do that many more things. In Claude Sonnet 4, that would have just cost me basically 3 cents or almost 4 cents basically. And if I was using Opus, that would have been an 18-cent call just for prompt authoring that one big mega prompt, right? That is an amazing way to kind of look at this. So you're like, okay, Ray, but I do code editing, right? Yesterday I was playing around with Groq 4 inside of Cursor, and we hit 100K tokens super fast, right? And within that, that's kind of like some of my coding workflows. So if I'm using K2, that would have just cost me 6 cents. 6 cents. 6 cents using Kimi K2 for that Sonnet 4 level intelligence at least. And Sonnet 4 would have charged me 54 cents. Opus would have been $2.70. Get out of here. 80 cents with that GPT-4o. We got the 4o mini. the Nano and so forth. So that's pretty crazy as far as like pricing and stuff. And if we wanted to take a look at O3, because a lot of people like O3 is really good, that cost breakdown here would be kind of something like this. So for some quick, like this documentation summary, instead of, free basically instead of $0, it would have cost me 2 cents with O3. And if we were doing that same big, 80K tokens as far as coding, that would have been like 32 cents on O3 versus, 6 cents with Kimi K2. So that's just some cost considerations there as far as like where we're thinking about this. The math may be wrong. I don't know from the Kimi K2 side if that's the cached version or if that's the 60 cents token side of things. But like, please do your own math as well. I'm going to try to check these numbers a little bit. I wanted to make sure I had this kind of live stream set up and ready for y'all. So that we can kind of cover some of these bases. So once again, really quick, we set up RepoPrompt with a OpenRouter API. This is somewhere probably outside of China. I'm not exactly sure where it's hosted, and I'll have to do some more digging. But the weights are currently open and they're available through OpenRouter API. The Moonshot API, which is currently in China, which is the one we set up with Claude Code. So when I type in Kimi, that's the one we're hitting. We're hitting this specific region. So all our stuff in Claude Code will basically go over and connect with the Moonshot API. And we're able to see that in the base URL. And that is currently the one that we have configured through Cursor. So that's kind of what we're seeing over here in Cursor. Whenever we go in, if you go to the very top, you'll see where it says, the base URL is set as Anthropic. And so this kind of finished there. And based on my analysis, your app doesn't have an additional trial setup. Instead, it uses a money back guarantee model. So the reason why it's saying that is because I thought I was connected to my backend app, but I'm only connected to my front end app, and it was able to read my files. So this read about 125K tokens for this tool call. And I wonder if I can actually pull this up somewhere in my actual Moonshot, and we can actually see how much 120K tokens cost us. So that'd be really cool to see if we can kind of see what that billing overview looks like. And so the total consumption, as we see here, currently is showing us as 11 cents. So that's 11.11 cents, which would have been pretty awesome, right? So like 120K tokens in Claude 4 Sonnet, I think that would have been, what was the math here? I think, let me see if I can pull this up. So if we do 80K in Claude 4, that would have been 54 cents. So yeah, you see the big cost difference there between the two models. And then if we're talking about Opus, that's $2.70. Damn. Yeah, so that's directly on the Moonshot API. Like that whole Claude Code session of just having a search through files and do that tool calling, was like 11 cents. We didn't get any real code output. We just consumed a lot of tokens on the input because we were doing all the searching. And that ran for 3 minutes and some time. So that's FYI. It probably looked through a whole bunch of code files. It did 12 tool calls and so forth. And so this is probably, that's what's up. Okay, so let me catch up a little bit with all of you guys, because I know this whole thread has probably been going crazy for a little while. And big shout outs to all my members and the folks who've been able to join in here. I want to make sure I catch up to the members messages first and then kind of go backwards, because I know people probably have a lot of questions on this setup, because we've been able to get this set up using Claude Code. We type in that custom bash script that we got set up once. And then once we got that set up, we're able to get that going with Kimi K2 instead of Claude Code. The advantage there again is that we can actually run Claude Code and Kimi K2 at the same time. You just type in one command Kimi, boom, you're up and running with Kimi. And then you type in one command Claude Code. You're not messing up any of your environments there, which is super awesome. And by the way, since this is a live stream, after the live stream, I'm going to do some processing, and these timestamps will be available. Also, if you remember, you're going to get first access. I'm going to edit this video, so it's going to be a much more compressed video. My members who are investing in me are saving lots of time by doing this. So this video, I'm going to go ahead and edit it so that way you can just have a quick 2-minute rundown of these are the steps you need to do. These are the things you need to copy. And then it'll be released later to the rest of the public. And I just want to give something as like that for joining my membership. So Yeah, let's go ahead and go back a little bit. I know, Bilal, thank you for joining the stream. That's so awesome. Jeremy, hello from the UK. I love Kimi K2. It's pretty close to Claude Sonnet, but the issue is the inference. The inference basically being the delivery speed is kind of what we're seeing there. It took like 3 minutes for that 120K token request. Definitely could have gone a lot faster. Derek Coates, thank you so much for joining. Also, thank you so much for joining TechFriend as well. All Kimi providers on OpenRouter are in the US. Okay, that's really good to know. So I thought it was US, but that's actually really good to see that as well. You can see on the model page as well. Hey Ray, did you see that Cognition Labs just brought windsurfed? Bro, that's gonna be a whole nother live stream. I mean, I should just do a drama only live stream. Y'all, y'all crazy about this. Jesus Christ. I like how Google was trying to buy windsurf with the same. Okay, this is that whole windsurf drama right now. I want to save that for a whole different video because I don't want to derail this because there is a lot of thoughts. I have met the founders of Windsurf and the folks in person as well. I haven't really got to chat with them since this whole thing has gone down, and I want to keep all that stuff private because that's just shouldn't be out there. And I don't really know much more than what anyone else knows publicly. So yeah, that's what's up. Raymond Todd, thank you so much for becoming a member. I have a link in one of my posts, and in my posts on my YouTube membership channel is some instructions that you just go ahead and send me over, and then I'll get you into the Discord, and then you'll be able to get some of these details as far as getting this stuff set up. I'm probably going to have like a private session after this live stream on the Discord to see if anyone's having any trouble getting this set up. That way we can kind of walk through it together, and then I can provide some additional instructions for when I do the final video edit. Yes, Bilal, it should be possible to run Kimi in Cursor. Yes. I think the way to run this in Cursor is kind of a really... Okay, if you want to run this in Cursor, you will basically lose a lot of agentic access, and you will only be able to get it running in the chat part of the window. But the second way to run it is by a plugin using Klein. So there's a Klein plugin that you can put in Cursor, and then that'll have its own little, like, it's basically a plugin that sits on the side, and that'll do its own workflow. It doesn't have access to the web. It doesn't have access to like image processing like you would with Claude Code. I think I should probably give that disclaimer if you're using that, by the way. All of this stuff is still kind of being ramped up as fast as possible. But as of the very moment right now, it won't have those features that you normally would have in Claude Code. So that's another big, thing if you're trying to figure this out. To me, if you're paying $100 a month, $200 a month for the Claude Code experience, you get that full-fledged everything. Obviously, if you're using Cursor, you get that full-fledged everything. But I mean, Kimi is a great competitor if you're trying to save on costs. I know a lot of people have been asking about that. How do we get Claude Code for free? You almost have this thing for free. So yeah, that's what's up. Hey, thank you all the way for everyone for also commenting on here. Arrive late. The setup with Cursor is in Klein. No, the setup was with the shell using a shell script or ZSH script that will run and invoke itself. So Ray's cooking too much to read the chat. Yeah, my bad. I'm just catching up right now. Bro is hyper fixated. I wanted to make sure I delivered as much as value at the very beginning of this live stream, because I know a lot of people watch the beginnings of the live stream and kind of get back into the comments, because I do like this. This is I was also pretty hyped, by the way. I did not know the image copy paste link trick. Oh yeah, dude, in Mac, it's awesome. They have their own custom model that basically runs and generates the copy for this. Okay, cool. What is RepoPrompt used for? Just trying to understand a workflow. RepoPrompt will allow you to talk directly to the code. So that means you don't have to use Cursor for your code editor. You can usually use RepoPrompt. And so RepoPrompt will allow you to select the files and chat with it just like you would. The problem is, like, whenever you're trying to copy code and paste it into like a web browser, if you ever go through your code manually and try to copy it, it's not structured in a way that a language model can read it. So RepoPrompt kind of arranges everything in the prompts so that you can copy them and paste them across. So I can paste them into the web browser and into these other places, and that's kind of how you get that set up as well. So yeah. Yo, Tech Friend, when are you going to go live? Yeah, Tech Friend, when are you going to go live, bro? I want to see your lives. He also just started a full-time job. Tech Friend is phenomenal at streaming and sharing coding stuff, is extremely popular on TikTok and like pretty much every social platform. So definitely go check out Tech Friend if you haven't a chance. He's also a member, which is like real VIP. I definitely appreciate that support. Day one, you probably don't know about hitting the escape 3 times now, do you? I know about hitting escape twice, which will basically kind of flip back to the previous conversation and kind of branch off of that? Is it 3 times do something different? I'm really curious about that. You know, hey, yo, what's going on? So this is Cursor to Claude Code, Kimi K2. Kind of. It's basically, I'm using Cursor in the IDE because I like to select the files. And when I select the files, they show up in Claude Code. And so in Claude Code, you have the option of basically allowing a different, URL or a different base URL, which basically connects us to Kimi. So yeah, I guess you might want to do this in a test branch. So yeah, Chris, I only test in production, bro. Like that's how we vibe around here. I check in all my keys into production too. Now there's this meme that's really good that's going around that there's this guy called, I think he was trying to make fun of like Kai Cenat name. I think it's Len Cenat or something like that. And he's basically a vibe code streamer, like persona. And he's doing everything that like you would imagine a horrible like vibe streamer would do. And it's really good stuff. Kimi K2 heavy incoming. Matt, I can't even keep up right now. I need to get up on this in the chat. That's what's up. Yeah. So is $10 for 200 requests / per minute for month or for lifetime? It's $10 credit for this type of thing. Doesn't work. We did get it working. Yeah. Is Kimi K2 goated? I don't know. I will take a look at that in a future live stream and doing some comparisons. I really do want to do a comparison of like Kimi K2, Claude 4, Opus, and Sonnet. We got to get O3 in the mix, O3 Pro. We got to just throw them all in the bag. We got to do Groq 4 Heavy as well. I found out some new techniques to try to get Groq 4 Heavy working. And so, I mean, this is going to be like, the video that I'll produce will just be like this mega video comparison. And I think that's just going to be bonkers. Yeah. So that's what's up. To join the Discord, you sign up for the $6.99 sub here on YouTube and then hit the first post that has instructions. Yes, Mark. Exactly. Thank you so much for saying that. So yeah, I'm still trying to catch up to the chat. I'm a little far behind, probably quite a bit. Kimi K2 is actually insane. Yes, is the best free tier for general questions and reasonings with only a few errors. Haven't tested coding yet. So there's a guy named AI Jason, and he did a phenomenal video where he literally got in like 1 or 2 prompts, got a whole Mario world going, and then like got a game going. And it's actually really good. And then he also did one where he created his own IDE and rich text editor and everything. So check out AI Jason. He has a really great video on Kimi K2. And he just kind of walks through how good it is. And the reason why is like, we need to get on this and start using this as fast as possible. So this is kind of the purpose of this live stream, is just to kind of get you started in the way that I would do it with setting up with Claude Code. So on Claude Code Max 20, at least a few days, Opus has felt a bit not smart to me. I've hit this sometimes, which is kind of really weird, especially during US business hours. So it might be better, but it might be a bit slow. Yeah. Yeah, that'll be really interesting. So, how does it feel to be a minority in the USA? It just feels normal. I don't think I'm a minority. I guess like I'm Native American and I'm also Mexican. So like Native American, as far as human beings and species, are extremely rare. My dad was full-blooded Native American, so I'm literally 50%. And the sad part of it is actually there's no, like, the language is dying. So I'm in this really amazing sweet spot right now to try to see if I can capture as many people speaking the language to try to preserve it in a language model so that people in the future can actually speak to it. And like this language will never die, but be available in the future for everyone else. Native American languages are extremely hard to learn. And there's a whole video called Code Talkers on like World War II, where they literally got the Navajo tribes to use that language to communicate, and no one could figure out what they were saying except if you were Native American and grew up on the tribe. So like there's so many differences in language between like if a woman is speaking versus a man is speaking, and these other words and tones and all kinds of crazy stuff that, yeah, it's a big undertaking, requires a lot of things, but I'm very proud to be like who I am. And it's really amazing to just be in a space, especially like in the Bay Area. I grew up in the Bay Area, to be able to like speak with people. No one really actually puts you down or anything. It seems to be very open around here, and everywhere I've traveled, I think most people really just kind of love and care about everyone else. And if you give that energy back, everyone kind of does the same with you. And so it's really cool. It feels like one big nation, everyone's kind of discovering everyone else. And yeah, I don't know. I think the vibes are really just chill and immaculate, you know? So yeah, that's what's up. Oh, someone thinks I'm not American. Oh, I could see that. I could definitely see that for sure. Yeah. Okay, so let's go ahead and keep going here. Can't wait to see more experimentation with Kimi. Only downside is speed. Yeah, I think that's the only downside right now with all these providers. So another big thing Bacon Overflow is the fact that Groq, Groq, the provider, I speak with them a lot. They are an extremely fast at providing inference. So they hit me up and they said, yo, we were cooking with something. Do you want to do a video? And I was like, of course I'm down. So I need to find out more details on what's going on. But you better believe that live stream is just going to be absolute fire. So one is that they provide inference super cheap. Two, it's extremely fast. And so I just can't wait to see what happens. So you'll find out more, but just because you made it this far, that's like my little bonus for y'all. Bro comes in asking the most off topic question and then wants to control the topic. Oh yeah. What's going on here, y'all? Y'all got to chill up in here. This is a really chill ass live stream. We're not trying to get all crazy up in here. Cool. So let's see what's going on. Running it in Cursor equals running it in Claude Code and Cursor. So I think running it in Cursor for me is allows me to basically link the two together. So the way that I was kind of showing it here is that whenever I select files like here, you can actually see my IDE is disconnected. So I do /IDE and then I click here and it's going to allow me to select cursor. And so now it's selected and now it's actually linked up. So whenever I select code files or do different things, you'll actually see that the lines are selected and I don't have to like copy and paste the lines back and forth with the terminal or anything like that. And so I just, can save myself the context. The other thing too is like, obviously once you're inside of the repo, when you start typing in specific files, you can select them and that also works without connecting it to cursor. But for me, if I can just drag from the left-hand side here and then like drag any file into cursor and it hits shift, you basically see if I hold shift and put it in, it'll like actually, have the file path and everything like that. That works in regular Claude Code as well. But I just wanted you to do that. Also Ctrl+W if you're trying to deletes the words. I think that blew a lot of people's mind when I was showing you that, but Ctrl+W or if you hold the Option key, hit backspace also does that as well. So if you have a lot of stuff that you have going on and a lot of words, you can hit Option, hit left arrow or right arrow, and it takes you basically to the front or the back of the words for navigating, or Option delete or Ctrl+W will basically kind of do the same thing there. And if you have like a really long line, you would just complete everything. Ctrl+U would just delete the entire line. If you're trying to navigate in the shell there. So just a quick tip for those who are coding using Cursor or Claude Code in the terminal there, as FYI. Late to the party, but we'll catch up on the video demand. Yeah, Frank, it's pretty awesome. Just a quick setup for those who are getting going. I'll have the timestamps as well for those who are catching up as well. There's a lot going on. I appreciate all the comments. Y'all are really kind of flowing in right now. So GitMax says escape 3x and party. Do I want to do this right now? I don't know if I want to do this right now, bro. Especially live on the stream. Y'all gonna get me caught up. I don't know if you're trying to do that right now. It's an awesome idea. Capturing native languages. Oh yeah, that's cool. Yeah. Native American is like a rare breed, but it's weird because I grew up here in the Bay Area and I'm still trying to figure out like my dad grew up on the reservation and he passed away, but like there's still a lot for me to learn about the culture, the language, and all these other things that I just wasn't around. And it's kind of a sad situation if you actually do look up the history of Native Americans, what's happened since, all that stuff. And, I don't have any bitterness. I just have love and I'm trying to figure out how to navigate in this world, right? I'm really good with technology and I love to do this. So this is my passion. I love doing it. What's happening? We're just kind of catching up right here. Robert, we just got situated and got stuff set up in Claude Code. So for, I guess, those who are just dropping in right now, we've been chilling for a little while. We kind of tested out Claude Code, but here's a quick rundown. And I have some of the stuff in the Discord, Robert, since you're in the Discord. So in the Discord, you can actually click these links to get your API keys if you either want to set it up on Moonshot or OpenRouter. And then we ran through the Claude Code config and got that set up inside of Cursor for you guys. And then also set it up with RepoPrompt. And so if you just scroll down into this file that I'll have linked in the Discord, basically the weights are available in two different places. So according to TechFriend, the OpenRouter API is actually available in North America, aka USA, America. And so the weights are open, so you can take the weights and deploy them in any server you want in the world as long as you have the GPUs, right? They're also available on a Hugging Face as well. I don't know exactly where that's hosted, but as of right now, requesting on Moonshot will send your requests over into China. So we did a quick setup with Claude Code and connected it to Moonshot API just to show you how to do that. And then the second part we did was connecting it via OpenRouter. And there we use RepoPrompt to connect that. And so that was just a super quick rundown as far as like what we were doing there and kind of getting folks caught up. I will have some more in the Discord, and I'll probably just do like a private session with y'all in the Discord to sort out any configuration issues that people may have. As far as context window, as of right now on the Moonshot API, they have about basically 128K tokens, give or take. The Moonshot, according to the papers, they can get 2 million tokens for the context window. So I don't know if you realize like 2 million tokens is massive. They've done some testing with it, but in order for you to provide inference for that large of a model, the number of parameters that are currently this model uses is 1 trillion parameters. 1 trillion parameters is so massive. There's a whole calculator I had to make because like I can't really understand how big some of these models are and whether they would fit with anything. So if you do llm-calc-rayfernando or .rayfernando.ai, I straight up made a calculator here, which will allow you to figure out what type of size model you can run on your machine. So if you have 16 gigabytes of RAM and you quantize this thing down to 4 bits, you can run as big of a model as basically 25 billion parameters. So if you wanted to run something a lot bigger, you would need probably 512 gigabytes of RAM to run basically a trillion parameter model, quantized at the 4-bit quantization. So you need at least this much RAM. And my machine that's an M3 Ultra, it's an M3 MacBook Pro, can only run at 256. So like that is already a lot of RAM on my machine, and I can only run half the model. So you literally will need 2 machines like this hooked up together, sending the inference across to make it, but it has to be quantized down to 4-bit. And as far as the context window, we're only talking about a 2,000 token context window. So whenever you add more zeros to it, so we just add like 1, 2, 3, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, right? We have 2 million token context window. We're going to need way more RAM in order to fit that entire model. So like each specific portion of the context window will take up more bits. So we're in a negative, we'll need at least double the size. So like a terabyte plus of RAM to at least run the model with the 2 million token context window. I don't know about you, but to have these GPUs that's full of that much RAM, it's just really hard to find. So data center wise and everything, you'll need that much more. And then you'll have to have, if a lot of people are trying to hit it with that big of a prompt, you know, like the mathematics on this just goes exponentially ridiculous. And it's part of the reason why a lot of these large context window models are not really served very frequently. And even if they are, they could be sort of nerfed because it just takes that much more energy to run. So that's just the FYI for those who are wondering as far as like what the current Moonshot things and how much context window you all get from that. So yeah, just trying to catch up a little bit more with the context as well. Res life is a rough life. Yeah, Robert knows about this. OpenRouter is how a lot of us use different router models inside of Cline and Cursor. Yeah, so Cline will allow you to use, it's a plugin inside of Cursor, which will allow you to use a bunch of models. It's basically its own agentic workflow. And yeah, keep in mind the Moonshot thing, it doesn't have all the different stuff as well. So yes, cool. This tool is so slick. Hey man, that's so cool. Yeah. It's open source, by the way, so you can start up if you want. You can hit the little star here at the bottom. I made a little animation. I wrote this in, let's see, I think I wrote this in, what did I use? Vite? Yeah. So this is all React based. You can go ahead and vibe code as well. I should probably add some vibe code rules, but basically it's just a basic setup and calculation. I originally wrote this in Python and then had this as a Streamlit app, but I had like, I wanted to do more cool stuff like the animation, light mode, dark mode. I wanted to have some of this really cool UI here that I have using Magic UI. So if you do that, that's part of like some of that framework, you know, and then, you know, obviously Shadcn's hotness with these buttons and these various things. Obviously stuff can still be improved. It's very mobile friendly, which is chill. So yeah, dang. we really cooked on this getting setup thing. I'm going to have a series of videos, so make sure you subscribe. I'm going to have like these 1 to 2 minute shortened videos that I will take this live stream, kind of edit it down, so that way I can walk you through the setup, and this will be fast as possible. This has just been a really fun stream to kind of hang out with y'all and kind of get a sneak peek of what I'm basically cooking as far as like some of the content here. I'm going to be also doing some getting setup content for getting your stuff set up like in Cursor and coding. And then I have a mega workflow that I'm actually going to do. It's not really a mega workflow. If you just go to rayfernando.ai, you're going to get a sneak preview of what I'm going to do. So basically, it's going to be the ultimate starter guide for getting started with Claude Code. I use Claude Code as my daily driver inside of Cursor. And there are some layouts of stuff that people have been asking me over and over. So I'm going to show you how I do planning mode. That's just going to be one of the videos by itself. Another video on just UltraThink and how I use it and why. And then I'm going to have some more stuff as far as how I use it to ship features. So literally I'll show you how I do compact. I'll show you more about like how I use the web access and other types of things. I try to do these on live streams, but they end up being very, very long, which is really cool for me. But it's free. So like the live streams are free. You can join in. I'm basically doing this summer of streaming every single day. Try to show up somewhere at the beginning of the day. And if I don't show up that time, I'll probably be a little bit later because life happens. And the goal of this is to try to connect with you. So if you have any questions, definitely show up on the stream. I appreciate everyone who's become members because then you're helping me set aside some time for the video editors. The goal is to eventually, after 100 people, get it like a real like live video editor. I'm like halfway there to my goal. I already got 52 members, which is super duper awesome. So once I reach 100, I can get like a full-time editor that I can go through and have them like bang out a bunch of content, cut up a bunch of live streams. And then, as we get more members and stuff and we increase the prices, I'm going to be able to get like a Discord mod. And I just keep adding on to this whole thing because I feel like this is a really cool time to be kind of chilling and building with AI and be around other people who are doing this type of thing. So if you're definitely digging the vibes, hit the, obviously, like, I don't know if I have to tell you anymore. I feel like I hear this all the time, so I don't want to say it anymore, but y'all know what to do. Oh man, I love the vibes. So yeah, Kimi K2 is really good so far. Long is good. Yeah, I love to know. I mean, some people say that they literally will like vibe with the video like it's a podcast, or they're just kind of chilling and working with me side by side. So I'm also very curious because I'm kind of torn, like I love the longer vibes where I'm just kind of chilling, figuring stuff out on the fly. And that could be very helpful too, right? Because if it's edited, all you'll see is just like, pop open this, open ZSH, open do that. Like, it would just be so fast. But I don't know. We'll see. SCC. I have an editor for $5 an hour from the Philippines. That's pretty badass. Mark, hit me with the DMs. Let me know. I think for me, if you are like new to coding or you're looking up AI coding and you do video editing, I'd rather work with someone like that because they know exactly what parts to pull out from my videos that can help other people like them or other people like you who are learning to code. If I hire someone for $5 an hour and they have no clue about AI or coding, it's going to be really awkward, right? So they could be the best editor in the world. They have all these flashy cuts, but it's not really that insightful. So there's a whole nother world of people that I do want to find out. If you know someone who's really good or is learning to code and is like editing in Final Cut and, doing some of this type of stuff and is really interested, definitely hit me up, slide through. I would love to meet some of you if you are doing that. So yeah, that's what's up. You mean a Discord supporter or on YouTube? Ray videos are probably one of the few channels I watch properly instead of copy and pasting the transcript to ChatGPT and asking to summarize. Thanks, man. That's really, really cool. Yeah. Cloud Code can be fixed by Anthropic to avoid using Kimi K2 anymore. I doubt it. I think they kind of want their platform to be extensible like this. The reason why we're even able to do this today is because they also have to support Amazon Bedrock, Google Vertex, and other people who have proxies and things. So they need to do these specific modifications to the URLs in order for them to be able to serve this at the enterprise level. So I don't see this going away anytime soon, but we'll see. I mean, I really kind of doubt it though, to be honest, because you don't necessarily always get all the features. But I also think that the Kimi team, they already have a branch that they're working on for their own Claude Code version, which will allow them to have web access and the other features that would normally work that you would expect from Claude Code. So I'm just really curious on how that will kind of play out. How does the sub work, Ray? Is the X subscription only, or do you have another? I have the YouTube subscription. If you are subscribed on X, Get Maxed, hit me up and I'll get you a link to the Discord. I put a lot of stuff on Discord there as well. So yeah, hit me up if you're on X and you're already a subscriber. And then I'll kind of look into that for you as well. Yeah, I can look into it for you. I have an account for it. Okay, cool. This is really awesome. I think the Bay Area lingo is that keeps me so entertained. What's the Bay Area lingo? Like I used to grow up listening to like a lot of rap music in the Bay Area. So like there's also a lot of that stuff too, you know, but yeah, I think when I was growing up, like hyphy was a big deal, but I really didn't get that into it, but a lot of my friends were, and you know, ghost riding was pretty fun. If you know what that means, to ghost ride the whip. Yeah, this is pretty funny. And the general vibe, of course, 110% cooking. Oh, cooking, man, that came about. I don't know. I think it's my early live streams, maybe last year. It's just such a great way to explain things that is so related to coding, that's so related to whatever. I used to work at Best Buy a while back. And so when I would explain multiple cores, like to people who had no clue what that meant when this new processor came out or something, I'd be like, yeah, it's kind of like cooking. You know, you have this pot here and you have this pot here. You can have more pots. And people are like, okay, I got that. You know, my computer can do more things. It's like, I just needed to do word processing. It's like, yeah, you don't need that. You know, it's like, you just need the basic thing. Let me get you over here. Right. So it's just kind of like the cooking thing is something that I've always told people as far as explaining, but it works really well for this type of AI platforms because you literally have to wait. It feels like it's baking in the oven or it's cooking, and then you get some type of product on the outside and you don't even know what's going to happen. Right. So, but there are recipes, you know, also like the pop culture references too, with like Drake and like cooking with a pot, and like the other meanings behind that stuff too, which is really crazy if you know what they actually mean. Is Cursor the best for really creating web applications? I mean, I feel like you can do anything with any type of AI editor that's a smart, you know, ChatGPT, any one of these. You can just say make a web app and it'll make a web app. But I think it's probably better to start with a template that somebody's already made and kind of build off that. I know there's a bunch of stuff on GitHub that you can go ahead and take a look. But yeah, I feel the 420 vibes. Yeah, I don't do 420, but there are people who do, and they're really chill as well. Be nice to the person helping you out at Best Buy. They might just be the next Ray. Low key. Yeah. That was chill. Yes. Cool, man. Man, this is an awesome live stream. I just love the wholesomeness of everyone here and being able to kind of connect and hang out with y'all. So yeah, like I said, if you want to connect with me, Ray Fernando 1337 on all the socials, basically. I'm also here on the Discord. So to get access to my private Discord, just join the membership on YouTube, Ray Fernando 1337, and hit that little join button and you'll be able to join in. There's going to be a post that will basically take you through the instructions to just send me a message to get onto the Discord and so forth. So for everyone, thank you so much for joining in live. I will have the timestamps below. A lot of the meat of this whole live stream is all at the very beginning. So if you just joined in right now, all of this is captured on YouTube. And so you can go back to that. I will have everything. You should be able to walk through the setup to get yourself set up with Claude Code using Moonshot K2. You can also use it on OpenRouter if you're want your stuff going to the US versions of those types of things. And coming soon, I'll have more content on like some of the comparison stuff. We're going to have some more stuff on the live streaming. I'm here live streaming every day. This is my summer of streaming, and I will be with you tomorrow, hopefully at 9 a.m. Pacific Daylight Time. All right, peace out, y'all.